in Ohio country today.
In Ohio Country Today, brought to you in part by the following: Koenig Equipment, Allen Davis Insurance Agency, True Point Cooperative, the Ohio Soybean Council, the Ohio Corn Growers, Rural Community Insurance Services, and Poet Biorefining. Koenig Equipment for quality, reliability, and great support. For large ag, small ag, and turf, or any application, you can count on our 100-plus years of experience every time you get behind the wheel. Koenig Equipment stands behind our products with responsive repair and maintenance. At Koenig, you choose the maintenance program that works best for you, designed for your operation. Koenig is there to ensure your equipment runs smoothly all season long. Think Koenig Equipment.
Big Oil presents Mr. Slick and Dummy.
Do you know what the RFS is, dummy? It's the Renewable Fuel Standard. It requires the oil companies to blend renewable fuels with their gasoline.
And that's real bad, right?
Yeah, for Big Oil, because it means we use less oil and more renewable, dummy.
Why doesn't Big Oil want you to know the RFS is good for America? You're no dummy. Don't let the oil industry treat you like one.
I'm Bill Elsall. I'm from Anna, Ohio. You are in the Wanger One-Room Schoolhouse. We had moved here and refurbished. Got the right word there. We refurbished it. We moved it here in 2010, and the building itself was built in 1887. It's set on my grandfather's, great-great-grandfather's property, and he was instrumental in helping get the school started. The school districts themselves were started in 1865, and the first building itself was a log and wood structure. That building lasted till 1887, at which time it was replaced with this brick building, which most of the buildings in the township were replaced in a 10-year period there, where they tore down the wood ones and replaced them with brick. If you notice this school here, it was a double-door school. They had a vestibule on both sides. One was the girls' side and the other was the boys' side. They kept their coats and their lunch pails and their toys or whatever they brought to school to play with at recess was kept in these facilities. And another reason I think they had them was with the double door in the wintertime, they prevented they could come in, shut one door, and then come into the second door to help preserve the heat in the building. So that really helped it out. Now in the front here where you're sitting, you'll see that is what they call a recital bench. And now all the school had, all 8 grades was in it. So we had farm boys who didn't go to school all the time. They were, either working on the farm or planting in the spring, harvesting in the fall. So they went to school at their convenience. And some of the farm boys were at that time actually older than the teacher. They would be kids up to 25 years of age trying to get a schooling lesson. So kind of interesting. There's the bigger seats in the back was for the bigger kids, and as you went toward the front, you had the smaller desks were for the smaller kids. So you had kids here from 6 years old to in their early 20s at one time or another. Well, the teacher really taught out of what they called a McGuffey reader. And they had different stages of McGuffey readers for each different age groups. Now, when the teacher taught the first graders, it also refreshed the second and the older kids of the things they might have missed when they were trying to learn the first grade stuff. But also, when she taught the older children, the younger ones picked up on the higher education at that point. So it was continuously a refresher course, actually, working both ways on a thing. One of the things we're really proud of is, I didn't realize, but McGuffey readers, if there was, I've always heard of those kind of books, but there was McGuffey readers charts. And if you look to my right here, you'll see the McGuffey reader charts. There's only a few sets of those left in the country. And the ones we got here is a reproduced set. Bowling Green State University has a set in their archives, and they opened their archives to us, and we went up and photographed and reproduced a set of the original McGuffey reader charts, which there's like 25 pages, and they're quite, got a lot of graphics on them, and they're really kind of neat looking, so really proud of that set of McGuffey readers. But to go back to the kids again, they learned from, what they learned over and over again, and the teacher taught them individually. So if they missed something in the first grade, they had a chance to pick it back up when they was in the second grade, even though, that's just the way it was. All the courses she taught there. So, well, the teachers came from a pretty local area right here. Anna had established in the town of Anna, what they called a normal school. And anybody who graduated from the 8th grade here or any one of the one-room schools could go to the normal school in Anna. And after a year or two course in the normal school, you could be certified as a school teacher. So all you had to do is go there for 2 years, and you could go out into one-room rural schools and teach. Now, we have a lot of the local people who did that, and there was a lot of the young girls were probably late teens, early 20s, who were school teachers already, 18, 19, 20 years old, but they were local girls. But if a man needed a job, they would lose their jobs, and the man would replace the girls, because at that time they felt it was more fitting that a male, if he needed to support his family, would have the job rather than a girl. So, and there's a lot of rules and regulations they had. They weren't supposed to date people. They were on the male side of it. They weren't allowed to go to visit bars or pool rooms or stuff like that. And so it was kind of, when you go back and research the history on it, they didn't have a lot of things extra that they were allowed to do besides teach school. But they had also furnished, some of them had to come early in the morning, get the school ready, have the fire built and stuff like that. And so it wasn't quite as easy a job as you think, but they were dedicated to their job. Another, I think, is really interesting part of this whole thing is the history of the one-room school, how important it actually was to this country, because they had the government used this as a tool, because they know we was a young country yet, and we had a lot of different nationalities in this country. If you just take in this area, we had the Irish in McCartyville. You had the German Protestants in Kettlerville. You had the Catholic Protestants in Minster, New Bremen. You had the Dutch in New Knoxville. You had the French in Russia, and we had all these people who were used to their heritage that couldn't, a lot of the language. I can remember my mother yet, when she was little, spoke German. And so you had communities who couldn't communicate with each other. And so the forefathers of our country realized that, and they brought the schools together and they taught English. And a lot of the kids who first came to these schools learned their English in the one-room school, and they took it home and taught their parents, and that's how basically we eventually evolved into one language, which I think would be great today yet if we had one language in this country. But that helped. They knew that communications was vital to expand and make this country what it was today, and they used the one-room school as part of their tool, and we didn't even know that that's what they were doing. So the buildings, well, the school district, like I say, they were ordered to provide education for every child to the 8th grade, and not have to go over a mile, walk over a mile to school to get that education. And so they had to come up with a way to provide that, and they turned that over to the township trustees and the government, township government, to provide education. Well, so first thing they realized, they had to get a grit so they could lay out the school system. So they went to a 4-mile square radius, or 4-mile square per school. And so they put the one-room school in the center of each of those 4 square mile on a corner. And that's how they established where their school districts was. They funded it through township money, is actually how they started out on the things. And they gradually formed school boards and went on from there. Their cost wasn't that much to operate, really. The biggest cost they had was probably the teacher's salary. Local, I got records whether they, most of their wood was bought from a local family. So there was people in the 4-mile square area that supplied the school with wood and stuff like that. I don't know what they were paid for sure. I think their salary averaged around $100 a month on average. But I know that after one of the contracts I seen, after 5 years of faithful service, you were entitled to a quarter a week raise. So that was not too great an incentive, but I get, things have really changed. When a quarter was a lot of money maybe back then. The building itself and the bills were paid by the township. So they had, when if the chimney needed fixed or something the windows needed fixed, they would go hire local people to do it, and they had budgeted for so much for each school, what it costs and stuff. I do have the township records for these schools here for about a 20-year period, and it was just desk and stuff like that they purchased. But like you say, I don't know where their actual money came from. There was probably some kind of a tax somewhere along the line, but it didn't amount to a lot. The basic design was the state put out a basic design of what was required to have. Most of the buildings were 20-foot wide, 40-foot long, 1 story. There was no basements underneath the schools. We put that basement under here just to utilize the building for what we needed. If we got kids coming here now to participate or get the history of the school and have classes here, we needed facilities for bad weather, in case of a storm, restrooms and stuff like that. They got a lunch area down there. So basically we did that just to be able to accommodate kids to get a chance to experience what a one-room school was like going to. There was this Anna district phased theirs out in 1925 and 1926. In those 2 years, they closed 23 of the schoolhouses up in this area. Now, I can recall, though, up into the 50s yet, in 1950 to early 60s, there was still some one-room schools in operation. There was one at Osgood, and there was west of New Bremen that were still working yet. But in the early 60s was probably the last, when the last ones phased out. They had, after the one-room school, just like I say, my grandmother passed, graduated from here. 10 days after she graduated, she went to Sydney and she took the Boxwell exam, which entitled her to go to any high school in the state of Ohio. Now you got to realize that probably Sydney had a high school, Waukpok had a high school, but local high schools, there wasn't that many in the early 1800s. So she would have had to travel, maybe a little more distance to go to that school. Now, if they pursued that at that point, then if they got 4 years of high school, they would probably advance and have the ambition to continue on into college and get a college degree in something. But very few did that because most of the kids were expected to return home and work on the farm. What happened was, the one-room schoolhouses gave the rural kids a chance to get an education where they probably wouldn't have been able to do that. And that goes back to legislation again. We realized that, to prosper, we had to educate the kids. We had to get the communications between the different country people here. They had to get that combined into one to make it a great country, which we did. And but that's the big part that the school played in this out here. Oh, what we'd like to achieve is to let the kids know what their ancestors went through, just to appreciate what they had to do to get an education. It wasn't that easy. It meant a lot to them to get an education. It wasn't just having to go to school. It's something they wanted to do because they know that they wanted to achieve and better their lifestyle, because the more education, the better your lifestyle hopefully would turn out to be. The Ohio Historical Marker is, we received that last year in October from the state of Ohio. We applied for it, and they recognized this as an historical building. It's 125 years old, and it tells the history of what happened here. There was a lot of, like I said earlier, in 1865, there was 54 students that went to school here. Out of that 54 students, there were 17 African American students. And we had the schoolhouse to the next one south here, there was 7 African American students, and the next one north had 5. So there was 17 and 5 and 7, 30-some, let's see, 29, I guess that would be, African American students here. There was a large population of African Americans here. When George Wanger, my great-great-grandfather, came here, he bought most of this ground in 5- and 10-acre parcels, which indicated that there was a lot of little acreages here that was inhabited by these African Americans. They came here. Part of them came from the Randolph slaves. Some of them were brought here. They helped build a Miami-Erie Canal. They got ground for doing that. And at the time period, one of the interesting facts that I have never been able to figure out is why they left. But he purchased a little bit over about 800 acres of ground he put together here in small parcels here. And that's how it accumulated. But he, it's, you know, they came here, I think, because after the Civil War, their masters had bought ground here to relocate them, and they were here for quite a while. But just east or west of here is a little village called Rumley, and there was at one time close to 500 African-American people lived in Rumley. So it kind of, they got a deep history, deep roots here. We had 2 black churches on our farm here. At one time we had the African-American Methodist and the African-American Baptist church, and they were within a quarter of a mile of each other. So, you know, you had a large population to be able to support 2 churches here. My children, hopefully, will take it over. It's actually, this area right here, they actually are heirs to this already, and hopefully that they preserve it and keep it going. And I think they will. We put a lot of work into it, and that would be my wish, and I think they would probably take it. And they're all interested in having it preserved, so it's more of a family thing right now. So down the road, I hope it keeps it continuing. Well, this place really means quite a bit to me because of my heritage here. My family, it's been in the family since 1865. I think about my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my fathers, my uncles going to school here, getting their education, listen to some of their stories they told of growing up and what it meant to them. And knowing that, you know, it's part of history. We just, my wife and I have enjoyed refurbishing. We get people coming all the time, and just share our story and let them see what it was like to have a school in a quieter time when just life was easier, and what it meant to those people back then. So we really enjoyed what we've done, and hope it continues. We have we are on the Shelby County Chamber of Commerce historical spots. They got some history on it in there. We've got just a small web page called also One-Room Schoolhouse. You can go in there, Google that in, and come up with a little history on that. Other than that, if anybody is interested in coming out, they need to just give us a call, and we'll be real interested in working with them and taking groups or whatever they want to go through with. We have a lot of groups, church groups come out, Red Hat groups, the Antique Tractor Association came out, had their meeting here. We have Grange groups, Historical Society groups come out, and so we've had really a quite busy year this year with it already, and we're booking in for next year. So, you know, if anybody wants to, you got to get reservation to come in. We did have one. We had one couple got married here last summer, and had a wedding. So a lot of things go on.
Koenig Equipment for quality, reliability, and great support. For large ag, small ag, and turf, or any application, you can count on our 100-plus years of experience every time you get behind the wheel. Koenig Equipment stands behind our products with responsive repair and maintenance. At Koenig, you choose the maintenance program that works best for you, designed for your operation. Koenig is there to ensure your equipment runs smoothly all season long. Think Koenig Equipment.